Voss water.
Yeah, if you're triggered by water marketing, hold on, I'm really thirsty. Let me just.
Hello. Do you want to play a game?
What's your favorite scary movie?
Be afraid. Be very afraid.
See dead people.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Here's Johnny.
The power of Christ compels you! The power of Christ compels you!
Whatever you do, don't fall asleep.
Welcome to Talking Horror with Jamie and Nikisha.
Hi, I'm Jamie.
And I'm Nikisha, and this is Talking Horror with Jamie.
And Nikisha.
Where we share our love for all things scary and talk horror through the lens of human behavior. Welcome everyone. Scary, but not too
sound
scary.
Effects.
Yes, Brian, please.
Oh God,
not right now.
Don't get smiled.
He even warned me before we started recording, and I know he's going to do it, and I just hate it so much.
For those of you listening, I did the smile face.
I hate the smile face.
I was just about to say. So watch us on YouTube so you can see Brian got smiled. Because today,
hi, YouTube.
Hi. Today we're talking about the 2024 psychological supernatural horror film Smile 2. Don't get smiled, as Brian calls it.
Smile 2. Don't get smiled.
Yes. So this is a direct sequel to the original Smile from 2022, and it was written and directed by Parker Finn, who has now become the creator of all of my nightmares. It's fantastic.
Really? Like, what?
Like,
get out of here.
Right, exactly. Like, have you been monitoring me? What is happening? Just all of my worst fears. But I love it. That's what we're here for. And I'm excited to talk about all of that. But it stars Naomi Scott with Rosemary DeWitt, Peter Jacobson, and Dylan Jalula. So, spoilers for Smile 2. If you have not watched it, go to a movie theater. It's impeccable watching it in a movie theater. So, don't wait till it comes out. Go support it now. And Jamie, hit us with the laundry list of trigger warnings for this movie.
So, yes, of course. This movie features substance use. It features a car accident. It features, I was going to say creepy smiles, which it does. And that's my trigger for me. It features, well, actually, I guess like multiple car accidents happen.
Oh yeah,
because the beginning. And then insides on the outside. How do we? Okay, so one is if you are ever afraid of dropping a weight on yourself, except in your face, smashing it repeatedly.
Yeah.
Yes. Also, act like someone slitting their own throat, but then making you think that you did it. So that's also like another mental. I was like, oh, this is like an OCD person's nightmare. Like if you're ever afraid that you're like holding a knife and you're like, you have that intrusive thought of like, what if I just like stabbed someone? Like this movie is gonna mess with your head. Also, like this movie is just like a jump scare nightmare.
Jump scare galore.
So it's like not even like, yes, there are like really disturbing deaths. There's like a wrench to the face that happens really quickly. That's also really disturbing. But like a lot of it is if you are easily jump scared, but also like really loud noises that like shake your brain a little bit. That is like most of this movie. This movie's very loud. The first one was also very loud. Even though this one also has like some bops, like it's still very loud. I feel like that's like an important warning to give. Also death by microphone.
Oh. Yeah. Man, the Foley artist on this just slam dunking it.
Yeah.
For that.
Yeah. Also a leg injury.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Injuries, so
oh, I hated that.
Yeah.
I hated that.
Yeah.
Needles as well. There's a
Mhm.
needle to the neck. Also dancers, lots of them.
Oh yeah, Voss water.
Lots.
Yeah,
Oh
if
my
you're triggered by water marketing, hold on. I'm really thirsty. Let me just.
God. But it's
Okay,
so
I'm good now.
true. Yes.
But yeah. Oh man, I'm very excited to talk about this.
Yes. Well, before we get into everything, producer Brian, please give us some words.
Yeah, sure. Hi, everybody. Hi, YouTube. Hi, everybody
Hi.
listening, wherever you're listening to podcasts. You can find us also on places like TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram at Talk Horror Pod. There is so much coming out in October and the rest of this year. And we're only covering one movie a week. So if you want more of that sweet, sweet goodness of movie reviews and fun lists
More.
and stuff like that, more. If
More.
you want more horror trademark. If you want more, definitely come and check out our social media at Talk Horror Pod. I think you'll really, really enjoy it. Yeah, cool. Thanks everyone. Happy October.
And it feels like it's
Happy
going
October.
by so quickly, and I'm very upset.
So fast, right?
Mhm.
Why is it almost over? I mean, we'll continue the fun, so keep listening, guys. But like the actual month of October is almost done, and that's very sad.
But that's also the fun of this podcast and our friendship. Like, yes, we love October. We love these 31 days, but also like we watch horror movies 365, right? That's how many days in a year. So, or this year 366.
Yes.
We got an extra day of horror this year. But yeah, so like hang out with us all year, and if you're discovering us during this holiday season, we're so happy to have you. Stick around for longer. And if if only you're only into it this month, that's also great. We're just happy to have you no matter what. So yeah, definitely thanks for showing up regardless. We really appreciate it.
Amazing. Well, should we just get into it, guys? Because I'm sure there's like a lot to discuss.
No.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. No.
We need to let you know we're very proud of ourselves.
Okay.
We did it. We watched all 7 seasons of Scandal.
Yeah, we did it.
We're free. We're free of Olivia Pope and Associates. We got Pope for the last time.
Quinn
and
Associates.
Quinn and Associates. Spoiler alert. Quinn and Associates. But we did it. We finished all 7 seasons of Scandal, and we started Agatha all along because it was like, so we binged that up to date. But man, Olivia Pope and Friends, what a ride! What a roller coaster!
A true dramatic roller coaster, but I am so proud of you guys for finishing it. I know our listeners who are really in with us were like wondering what the tea was, and I appreciate you updating us on that.
Of course,
it's
what a wild ride, man. It starts off really strong, and then it gets insane. But I was told, Jamie and I were talking, and the one thing I really appreciate about this show is, one, it always kept me entertained. Never, there was only 1.5 season where I was like, I'm not into this storyline. But, spoiler alert for Scandal, when she gets kidnapped in like season 4 or whatever it is, a lot of shows would have been like, this was stupid, we're just going to pretend this never happened. But this one, it doesn't stop. Like, she has PTSD from it. Like, it continues through multiple seasons of like it affecting her, but not taking over the full narrative. And I really appreciated that a lot. And so even when it got really wacky crazy, it brought a smile to my face. We have some comments, we have some thoughts about the finale, but overall, like, what a delicious chunk of television.
I know, and we'll definitely talk. We'll have to talk about the finale because, the people who die, all the things, and then all that just to not get to Vermont either. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah. We'll talk about that.
We'll
sure.
talk about it.
Oh man.
But then Jamie and I watched three things.
Oh God.
We've been busy.
We've been busy. Yeah. We watched what I think is one of my top 10 horror movies of the year, which is Your Monster.
Okay.
We loved it. It's a horror comedy that a horror rom-com, I should say, that is just
Aramedy.
it's a romedy. It's a horror romedy that I don't know, just scratches the itch. It is really smart and it's clever and it doesn't treat the audience like an idiot, and it is respectful. I had a blast. I think you're gonna really like it, Nikisha. I really do.
We love a horror comedy. Well, I'm excited to see it. Yeah, because I've been seeing little bits and pieces on social media about how people were enjoying it. So I can't wait to sit down and watch it. Yes.
And Melissa Barrera is spectacular in it.
She's really.
I didn't know she was in it. Oh, fantastic!
Thomas Dewey plays the monster. He's wonderful, so charming. It's really good.
More charming than what's his face, the rabbi from Nobody Wants This. Have y'all watched that?
Oh no, we didn't. We haven't, because we've been Scandalland. We've been Shondaland.
Okay. Well, y'all get back to me when you watch Nobody Wants This.
Yeah.
But yes, okay, got it.
Then we did a blast from the past. We did a rewatch of what is a movie that really still holds up in a weird way. The Faculty.
Yes. That's a great movie.
Yeah, that one holds up surprisingly. Yeah, like it holds up if you again, we've talked about this before. The nostalgia I have for late 90s or early 2000s horror movies is like unmatched. But so this one just like really, really scratched another different itch. That rewatch was real good. What a cast. And I'm here to say that I think that's the sexiest high school staff in any or at least horror movie. You have Famke Janssen, you have Bebe Neuwirth, you have Robert Patrick, you have Jon Stewart, on top of Anselma Hayek as the teachers at this like podunk high school. Very sexy.
Cute. I love it.
Great movie. And then we finally watched Alien Romulus.
Oh, did you enjoy it?
We did.
Really
yeah, it was really fun. I think a little bit overhyped when we watched it this late. Everyone's like, "Oh my god, it was really good. It was really good."
Okay. Just like a good one in the installment or in the chain of Alien movies.
Definitely. I mean, it's probably top 3 because that chain's not very good overall. Like it's really the only 2 excellent Alien movies are Alien, the first 2, Alien and Aliens. Some people like the Prometheus movies and Covenant and stuff like that. I think Prometheus is pretty good. And then I thought this one was excellent.
Love it. Yeah, there's so many things. Like I'm gonna catch up on my list because I still need to watch What's Inside. That's on my list too.
Oh my god, it's so good.
And I'm excited to see how these movies will change what my top movies are for the year thus far.
Definitely.
Oh yeah.
Because it seems like a lot of bangers are coming out towards the end of the year. So I'm excited to see by the time we hit December, like where we'll all be.
Me too. Rankings. I think that's going to be a lot of fun to do that episode this year. Because we just there's just so many things on opposite ends of the spectrum.
Very true. A big variety within like all the subgenres of horror, which is like it just scratches all the itches, which is very nice. So
so we've been really eating lately on some of this good stuff. It's very delicious. And my favorite part of watching the movies is like watching them, enjoying them, and then talking them out with Jamie. Like on the couch, or if we pause it to go to the bathroom or whatever. Me? With you, huh? Like we had some really interesting conversations about Alien Romulus. I won't spoil anything. We had some interesting conversations about Your Monster and kind of what it represents and how they go about it. And it also centers around a musical theater actress. So we talked a lot about that stuff too.
Yes. I cannot wait. Oh,
it's really good. But anyway, that I just wanted to make sure that we got those in before we talk about Mr. Smileman.
Absolutely. And I'm safe to say you have made videos of those videos on our TikTok, Brian.
Your Monster, I did one. I didn't do one on Romulus. And I made a Faculty one as well, but I didn't put it out yet. But by you listening to this, it might be out.
Ah, fantastic. So make sure you're checking us out on all the social media so that you can see all the movies that we don't cover with full episodes on here.
Mm-hmm.
Because as you've heard, Brian and Jamie be watching a lot of things.
I've even been watching season 3 of American Horror Story Coven.
Oh yeah.
Just I don't know. Well, for one, I was like, I need new friends again to hang out with, and man, Ryan Murphy's wild. He is he just does things, and I'm like, do I like this? I don't even know. But I do find I remember that season being deeply entertaining. So I was like, let's get back into it, and it just starts off being like, I was like, oh, good God.
Oh yeah, well, because I watched the first couple of episodes of Coven, but I never finished it. But that first episode is absolutely insane.
It's all wild.
It's wild.
Yeah.
Oy.
But that's Ryan Murphy. And I will say, I'm gonna get back into What We Do in the Shadows because the new season is
it just came out. We have to start that as well. Thank God we finished Scandal. There's just so much, we're so behind. Like we didn't watch this season of The Bear, or we were so behind, or The Boys, because we were in Shondaland.
Yeah, we were living in Shondaland.
Well, I cannot wait for you to watch The Boys. Let me know how you feel about The Bear, because I couldn't finish the season, but I still need to. But please let me know about The Boys, because it's just epic. That's like top priority. All right, speaking of top priority, it is for Smile 2 for this episode. So we need a 2-minute plot summary from producer Brian for this.
What's the plot?
Jamie is going to get the timer out, and not the clock, but the timer. Or not the calculator, but the timer.
Yeah, don't worry. No calculator, just the timer. All right, producer Brian.
Okay.
I'm not good at the smile. You really have to move your head.
Yeah, you got to do a lot of head action, You got to really get in there. Tilt your head down and smile up. I don't know.
It's weird.
It feels really no lips. Like you got to move your lips out of the
way. You really got to get the corners of the mouth too. So
it's the corners. Brian is good with the corners.
Yeah, you're good at your mouth corners.
Thank you.
You should put that on your resume.
I will.
Thanks.
Good old mouth corners.
All right, mouth corners. You have 2 minutes on the clock to tell us everything that happens in Smile 2. You ready?
Yes.
Ready, steady, go.
Okay, so Smile 2 opens 6 days after the first Smile, and we're caught up with Kyle Gallner, who's the one who contracted the Smile at the end of the first one. He is trying to give the Smile to drug dealers so that it can just get off into that world. However, it messes up, and he ends up giving it to some random person at the Smile in the drug house, and then he's killed outside of the house in a car accident. But then later in the movie, we're introduced to Sky Riley, who is like this sensational pop superstar, and she has some fucking incredible bops, and we'll get to that. But she is somebody who has a lot of trauma. She was in a car accident a year beforehand that killed her boyfriend, who was played by Jack Nicholson's son. And that's why that's a very effective smile. Anyway, she has a lot of trauma from that. We've later in the movie find out that she's the one who, they were both high and drunk in the car, and she's the one who caused the car accident. Anyway, her back really hurts. She's from the accident. She's clean now. She's really trying to rebuild her life. As a pop star, she's going on this huge tour, but she tweaks her back because her back still hurts from the car accident. So she goes to a drug dealer to try and get some Vicodin because they won't prescribe it because she's an addict. And anyway, the drug dealer turns out to be the one who contracted the Smile, and she contracts the Smile. So as she is just preparing for her world tour, her mom is her manager, who really only plays the manager role and doesn't play her mom role. She's all about making sure, so she doesn't have support there. She drinks Voss water, sponsored. She drinks Voss water to try and take control over the situation. And then she starts seeing random things, and the Smile takes over, and in the end the Smile wins, and she kills herself in front of an entire stadium of people who potentially get the Smile. End of movie.
And that's the plot.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, between contracting the smile and the end, there's a lot of jump scares. There's a lot of incredible sequences. There's she meets someone who is trying to help her defeat the smile, and like there's a lot of plot stuff in there. But at the end of the day, it's just jump scares and internal acting stuff where we find out about like her traumas and that, but it leads to the end.
Yeah. Well, let's get into it with our first section, likes and gripes.
And now our likes and gripes.
Now, I'm also excited to have the conversation about what you think was real and what wasn't.
Sure, that's my question too.
Yeah. Just because in you mentioning the nurse, but we'll get there. We'll start from the beginning. I'll start in saying that this right now is my number one movie of the year 2024.
Whoa! Wow! What a way to start your likes and gripes. Wow!
Okay. Now, I still have a few more movies to watch before the end of the year, right?
No, you're done now.
We're done. Just this. That's it. Parker Finn, marry me. Amazing. Yes. But it was such a fun experience. First off, watching it in the theater. I went to the Alamo Draft House because we love an Alamo.
Oh, so jealous.
Ooh.
So good. And random, but for the first time, I watched the captions in the movie theater for this.
Oh.
But it was just because the time that I could see the movie before we could record the podcast, that was the only thing available. So I just saw it.
Oh, so you went to the closed caption screening because that's all you can get to. Oh,
yeah,
that's cool.
all that I could get to. Yeah. But I will say I was nervous because with horror movies, sometimes the caption will come in before the thing, before the jump scare, and it messes you up. It did not in this, and
cool.
I was
That's
so
great.
excited and so happy because the jump scares really got me. Just some of the highlights of what really drew me to this movie was the sound design. And I don't think we talk about that enough. I know we talk about it, but as a public talk about how good sound design is in horror movies and how it can make it so successful. And I just really think that the sound design for this was awesome. A key thing that was sound and tension was when she was at the bar with the nurse and they're meeting for the first time, the one that wants to help her. Morris. And her phone is vibrating as they're talking, as she's hearing the information about like what this thing is, what this entity is, what's actually happening to her, and him trying to give solutions to try to help her. So you have that conversation. So she's learning about what's happening. You have kind of like the bar ambiance noise in the background, and then you have this constant buzzing because like her mom is calling, like asking where she's at, like her everybody's calling her, assistants and all that stuff. And I just thought how they integrated all of that just added so much to the tension in that scene with very important exposition happening in the middle of it. So
yeah, it made me super anxious. Because I was like, I hate when people call me. This is like a millennial nightmare. And like everyone was calling her, and I was like, gee, okay, we get it. We like, don't like it. Shut it down.
And if she's not answering the phone, like, you know, stop calling. Yeah. Like apparently, you know, she's busy or she'll call you back, whatever, fine.
Just quickly,
circumstances, but yeah.
Jamie and I saw this in a Dolby theater at an AMC, and the Dolby sound was just like, and we saw Smile, the first one, in the same theater. The Dolby
sound is inside of your asshole. Like it's so far in, like it's so loud that it's like reverberating into your insides. It's like truly horrifying. Yeah, I cannot emphasize enough how loud it feels inside of you when you're watching movies in that theater.
I'll have to go back and do Dolby surround sound just for that sensation of the sound in my ass.
It's like truly, it's you can't escape it.
Yeah. But it was, and that's so crazy because it was still loud at the Alamo.
Yeah,
And yeah, so I just shout out to the sound design, to the Foley artist, like we mentioned before. You know, when she breaks when she thinks that she breaks her leg at when she's on stage, and that whole sequence, but then the whole sequence of the monster like coming out of her on the stage like towards the end. And I also with that appreciate the practical effects. I appreciate how sometimes this movie is a little campy too, but it's still like really good horror. Like you're on the edge of your seat, you don't know what's going to happen. I love the shots, especially the whole scene with the phone where she's watching the video of the her dealer when his last video before he gets smiled. Talk about
Nikisha, that jump scare, I jumped out of my seat and grabbed Jamie. I knew it was coming. You know it's the Parker Finn's ability to let you know a jump scare is coming, and yet it's still. My skeleton popped out of my skin. That one fucked me up, and the second one that really messed me up was on the stage. When she's at the awards like ceremony thing.
Yes.
And she thinks she sees the Jack Nicholson, and that's the jump scare, and then she pushes the old woman off the stage. Yes. That sequence, that was my second jump out of my chair. And I just started cracking up in the theater.
Oh my god, he was laughing maniacally after that happened.
Oh my god, it was so good.
But what makes that particular sequence so good with the old lady getting yeeted off the stage was because I mean it was crazy because you're seeing the Jack Nicholson's son like whatever coming towards her, but then you think the lady's arm is tapping her.
Yes.
And then she turns around, and then that's like what makes her
fuck me up.
It was great. And then another thing about the phone scene is just the fact that we're watching the video from her perspective, from her point of view, right?
Sure.
And so like there's no escaping like you watching this thing. But you think the jump scare is going to come out in the phone, and the jump scare is outside like with her.
Yes.
So it's kind of like an Insidious type moment where like the devil like pops up behind.
Yeah,
And I just thought that was genius because we know the jump scare is coming, but I was thinking that it would come out of the phone screen, and it didn't. So it just made it even worse. And I was like in a row of like grown ass men, and all of them like also jumped. And
amazing.
That one reminds me of the I feel like there's a lot of parallels of sequences, but that jump scare reminds me of when she was in the first one, when she's re-listening to the sound of her first meeting with her patient at the beginning of the movie, and she hears something, and she keeps increasing the volume up all the way and gets really close, and then the jump scare happens next to her as well. Where the woman is just there and screams in her face.
Well, I mean, this movie is somewhat of a carbon copy of the first one because the awards ceremony that we talked about is also the cat scene from the first movie.
Oh my god!
Like I feel like the structure and formula of this movie, you could place this over the first movie, and it would probably match up like pretty accurately. But and I know that's a gripe for some people, but like I don't care. It works. Who cares?
It works. It's a new story. Like it's a new storyline because there's new people, and so if the formula is the same, like fine. That's like The Conjurings. Like there's always going to be some exorcism. It's like whatever, but it could still work. You know.
Totally.
It's
always an exorcism. Whatever.
It's fine. It's whatever. A few more things because I could talk about this movie all fucking day. But the Voss, we already mentioned the Voss stuff, and that's I think what made me think this was very campy was all of the Voss bottles and just thinking like, what is the deal? What deal did Voss make with this? Until they actually like gave a reason that she's drinking water because of blah 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 blah. So then it's like okay, so then it doesn't like affect me as much because I think that would have been a gripe if it was just drinking Voss water just because they have a deal with it.
Can I also say this about the Voss water? It didn't bother me because if she is a pop star at the level of I don't know, let's just say like Olivia Rodrigo or something like that. Yeah. Like I wouldn't call her like Taylor Swift, but I'd put her at like Olivia or Sabrina Carpenter or something like that.
Same. Yeah.
The Voss water thing never bothered me because someone of that caliber of a famous person that's what their fridge is going to be. It's not going to be Poland Springs or something that's not branded.
Aquafina.
Yeah, like it's going to be like Voss or Smart Water or something like that.
What's that water that comes in a can? Death
Oh,
water?
Death.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Liquid Death.
Liquid Death. Thank you.
Yes,
Yeah.
Oh,
yes.
can somebody wait? If you want to make Death Rattle Water, hit me up. I'll copyright you the name. Thanks.
Obsessed.
But yeah, I'm just saying that never bothered me. The thing actually what bothered me even more, and it makes sense, is when she's at the arena signing everything, all of the signs behind that line was like ally savings and this, like, but it felt right for the arena, but that's what I was. It's a very anyway. That's just me. Thank you.
No, but I get it. I totally understand that. I don't even think I noticed what was happening at the signing thing, just because I was waiting for that little kid and from the trailer to like come up and be.
Oh, sure.
What's going to happen? But to that point, it was not trailer failure because there were so many other jump scares that like weren't in the trailer or set up in the trailer. So, really love that.
I do have one trailer failure moment, but I'll save it for my gripes. So you keep going.
Okay. Yeah, that's pretty much it. This is how you do a concert movie. M. Night, take note, because everything about it was fantastic. And my favorite line, it just reminded me of the Justin Timberlake when he's like, "This is gonna ruin the tour," and her mom was like, "You're gonna ruin your tour." And she's like,
Yeah.
"Fuck the tour."
Yeah.
It's like this is excellent. But yeah, lots of great tension building. I loved truly everything about this movie. It was spectacular. The acting was spectacular. All of the smile entities from the dancers in her room that were surrounding her, to Gemma, her best friend, not even really being there in the first place. It was great, and I had a great time watching it. So, Jamie or Brian, please.
Sure, I'll go. I really liked this movie because it really scared the crap out of me. Like truly scared the crap out of me. And I think it's for a couple reasons. Because even though I also liked Smile 1. And I think that scared me just as much because of like what the themes are, who the character is, like all of these things. It's centered like the first one centered around a therapist who has really bad like work-life balance, no poor boundaries, and that ends up leading to her demise. Also paralleled with like her having experienced trauma. So shift into this other character who I don't necessarily relate with like her being a pop star because, shocker.
You're not a pop star?
No. And nor do I necessarily I'm also not necessarily like aligned with like the substance use. Like that's not an experience I have, but like I do experience that like, negative self-image, and that is so much at the core of this character. And like that like seeing that and how that can like lead to your downfall is also very scary to me. So like there's still things that I can pull out that I relate to. I also fucking hate weird mouth things. So again,
always
Parker Finn, I think you're somehow listening to all of my nightmares, writing things down, and then making a movie around the things that I fear the most. One thing I will say, because I feel like I said this on an episode. I know I said it to Brian, but this movie is predictable. I predicted how this movie would end when it was first announced what it was supposed to be. I said the only way that this movie can end effectively is if the smiling happens to the audience members, like the people attending this tour get smiled. Correct me if I'm wrong, Brian.
Correct.
Did I say this like from the get-go?
Can confirm.
That being said, that did not deter from my enjoyment of this film. I will also fully admit, I talk a lot about not being scared about a lot of things, and I don't know how much Brian was paying attention to me watching this movie, but I watched 80% of this movie behind my hand with my eyes squinted because this movie scared the shit out of me. Just like the first one scared the shit out of me. And again, I know it's a very jump scary focused movie, from the visuals to the sound design. All of that stuff is like very aggressive, but it gets me and it scares the shit out of me. So
Agreed.
I you can't fault a movie for following through on all of its jump scares, which it does. And I think, quite frankly, does it effectively. And I know people get
Same.
really mad and like think that jump scares are cheap, but also like jump scares are effective because they effectively scare you. That's the entire point of it. If you're
That's the
mad that a
name.
movie, that's the point.
It's the
That's
name.
literally the point. And if
Yeah.
you're mad that like horror movies employ strategies to elicit that type of reaction out of you, like I would pause and consider the fact that you're watching a horror movie. And it's not to
That
say that
part.
every horror movie needs to use this tactic, but
Right.
I don't understand. People seem to get very mad at movies when they have reactions. They're like, "Oh, I wasn't trying to get scared." Like it like to them it's like it feels cheap. But I'm like, again, it is a strategy that horror movies use. Not all of them do, but some of them do, and some of them use them really well. And I really think that this chain uses them so effectively. So big shout out to Parker Finn, as well as whoever is editing these movies.
Mhm.
Your name is
God.
Elliot Greenberg. You're the editor. You're doing a great job. Shout
Hell
out
yeah.
to you.
Elliot.
You're killing it. So anyway, this movie scared me. I was hiding most of the time. I still hate the smile monster. I remember seeing a TikTok fairly recently, I think because they were promoting this movie, but showing from the first movie that thing is a puppet. That smile entity was like a practical puppet that they made, and it's awful. And there's like a person inside of it with like
Oh my
holding like,
God.
oh my God, Nikisha, I have to show you this video. It's like
Please.
and then I was I think more scared knowing that it wasn't like entirely CGI. Obviously some of
Yeah.
it is, but like the fact that they created something that looks like that is deeply upsetting to me. But I love a practical effect. So
Same.
I'm hoping that they used either the same or like they made another version of it. But like I hate the monster is so disgusting to me. It really scares the shit out of me.
Ugh.
And so many of these scenes were really effective. I will tell you that ever since we saw this movie, every time I go into my closet and turn the light on, there is a small percentage of me that is afraid that I'm going to see an entire dance troupe in my closet that's going to attack me.
Hiding away. Ready to
Or
do a
I'm
quest
scared
line.
that oh my God. Or I'm scared that like I'm going to turn over in my bed and Brian's just going to be like smiling at me, and I hate it. And all
Yeah.
I keep thinking about is the word smile, because also now like our baby is smiling, and this movie has just ruined my life. So that's why it's so good.
It ruined my life. 10 out of
It
10.
ruined my life.
We'll watch again.
So some other likes. Naomi Scott fucking dominates this movie. She embodies this character. She does such a good job. Like very believable, like pop star, but also, like she's not like entirely like the stereotypical like mean or like bitchy pop artist, but
Right.
like she's clearly going through something. And then you also have like her momager, Rosemary DeWitt, who like is also really like not it's like clear that she doesn't want to fully connect with her daughter, because I think she knows that her daughter's not ready to like do this, but is still adding that pressure to her. And so like that dynamic I think is really effective. I really like the act Dylan who plays Gemma. I just like her and stuff, so I was also like pleasantly surprised to see her in this.
Same.
And then I think Brian whispered like, oh, is she even like here? Like again, the movie was predictable, but like even so, it still gets you. And like even though she has like a cutesy face, her creepy smile freaked me out too.
Oh my gosh. No, yeah. And it was so funny because when Gemma first shows up at the house, after the dance troupe scene, and there was a moment the next morning where her mom comes into the house and like Sky's running around 'cause she's waiting
Acknowledges
for something.
her.
And but doesn't acknowledge Gemma. Well, Gemma acknowledges the mom, but like there's not a like conversation
Exchange.
happening. Yeah, an exchange. Thank you. That's what I'm looking for. And so then it's like, oh yeah, it's not real because the mom was the one harping on Sky calling Gemma in the first place. So it's like, why would there not be an exchange of like, oh my God, Gemma, so glad you're here, like for my daughter. So
Yeah, that was also weird because Sky wasn't in the room at the time, so that was like a kind of a visual fake out. Because
right.
like if Sky's not in the room, then does Gemma exist? You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like
Mhm.
from but that I'm fine with that. I'll let that slide in some ways.
Well, I think it's okay to let it slide because I think something important to acknowledge is like what is real? Like what is reality? When you know the half the things that are going on around you or to you are not actually real. And so I feel like even if she's not physically present, there's like what I would consider filling in the blanks that's like kind of secondary outside of her that she can convince herself of.
That's fair.
That allows for the like hallucination, if you will, to sustain itself. Like
Totally.
it would have been super weird for her to like acknowledge her mom and her mom to like not see her like she's like a ghost or something like that.
Right.
Fair. Totally fair.
So like it's just enough to like justify it, I feel like. But not like digging too deeply into it. But I totally understand what you're saying, and I feel like again, like they don't fully. There's like bits and pieces of things that feel more obvious or weird. Like when the brother of somebody else who had gotten smiled, or yeah, it's his brother. When they meet up later in the Pizza Hut, and he's like, "I have to go get something," and it's like, "What? What are you doing?" Like
Which is
clearly something is wrong here.
Yeah.
But
which was so crazy.
So
like just in that scene because it was just like you're finding out everything was fake. Like Gemma wasn't driving, like Sky was driving, and then like you want that moment of her and Morris to be real.
Yeah.
And then it's just like, oh nope, and this whole thing like he's not even there. It's fine. And then you think about like the time jumps too, because from her being like back in the hospital and like her mom stabbing herself, but then like it was Sky who did it, but then she left. And so you have all of that. And then you get to like, now they're on the stage. And then a part of me wanted to see like, well, what was the time hop? Like from what was real to then her being on the stage and that's real.
Yeah.
Like, so
we
wild.
talked about that after.
Yeah.
That was like part of our debrief after the movie was like, wait, so when was likely the last like quote real thing that she experienced? But like it's also, you know, thinking about it, I don't know. I guess like there's a part of me that is willing to let a lot of those things go.
For sure.
Because like thinking about it from a mental health perspective, it's like who are we to like decide what someone's reality is if that's like what feels real to them. And I think like yes, obviously there are I don't know, there's just like a lot of like doubt and things, but yeah, it definitely makes you curious about like was there even a point that like something was really happening, and then like from then on she just like was not present mentally at all. Unclear. Like I don't know, but it's really fascinating.
Yeah, I agree.
But I think in terms of like other mental health stuff, I think that like I guess when she has the fight with her boyfriend in the car, I wish that I knew a little, like I think it was there was something missing for me in terms of like he was like they were having a fight and they were both really drunk and like high and whatever, but I think that her self-loathing, like from my perspective, her self-loathing comes from the car accident and like feeling responsible for it, but it's clear that she had some other like pre-existing like mental health stuff going on in that car ride outside of just like the substance use. So it's like, what else was going on? Just, I personally am really curious about it.
Sure.
Because it seems like she was trying to escape something.
Right.
That we don't like entirely know other than like self-loathing. But we never really get deep into that. It's just like, okay, from this point on, like this awful thing happened and now you're like carrying the weight of that. But that's just me being nitpicky. I had a good time.
No, I totally get that. But like you said, it still works, you know, in the sense of it. Great.
Yeah.
Any more,
Yeah.
Jamie?
No, it was scary.
Very scary. Producer Brian, please.
So I just want to say that this was our first movie in the movie theater since our son was born.
Oh,
What a great way to kick it off.
Yeah, we
Yeah, we
got a
used our
babysitter and
babysitter.
everything, and totally worth it. This is definitely worth a babysitter. I agree with everything all of you said. I loved the pacing of this. There's something very cool about it. It kind of creates its own rhythm, like yeah, its own beat. Like the movie kind of
Gorgeous.
takes its time. Acting is great. The jump scares are great. It really does a good job of messing with your perception of what's real and what's not. The effects are great. The monster's great. It was a great title card. However, the trailer failure for the opening, because the trailer shows someone getting hit by a car or running away from a car, and the trailer also shows the smile blood on the street. So I was able to put together the second that the movie opened that was how it was going to end, like that opening sequence. I was just waiting for that. So that was a little bit of a trailer failure for me. Also, I was waiting for the dancers scene.
Oh yeah.
But like,
I didn't remember that from the trailer, but I might have blocked it out because it was freaky.
Sure.
Just a bunch of creepy smiles.
Yeah.
Creepy dancing smiles. Ugh.
To quote Jamie, man, she can really rock that haircut.
Oh yeah, she looked great.
Yes.
She looked again, she just like really embodied this character.
Yeah. Oh, and then all the scenes where she was pulling out her hair.
Oh my god, I forgot about that. Oh man,
Yeah.
there's so many things that are deeply upsetting about this movie.
Yeah.
Yes. That just added to everything else that's going on. It's like, no.
Yeah, there was something that was I'll say this now. Something about this movie and the first movie and the way that these movies end and the way they go, or even more than the jump scares, these movies are very upsetting in that, like, Sky Riley, who really, after this trauma and her, really, it seemed like the way the movie presented it, really tried to do the work, really tried to, like, kick the addiction and get better because of the trauma that, like, she didn't want this to happen again. And, like, she really seemed like she was trying to improve. And unfortunately, her legacy is then going to be that she killed herself on stage after, like, finding addiction again, assuming that, like, people don't find out about the monster, stuff like that.
Right. Yeah.
But I don't know, and even in the first one, like, Rose killing herself, and, like, even, like, these aren't, like, awful people. They're flawed people, and for them to go out that way,
people. It's just people.
They're just people.
People, and
and that's deeply upsetting to me for whatever reason. That, like,
that's why this movie is scary.
Yeah,
because it's not happening to, like, bad people, and it's not, and it's like loss of control, and it's like all of this stuff. It's really upset. It's just people who experienced something that's outside of their control, and, like, you can do everything to work through it, but, like, that doesn't necessarily fully erase the trauma that you've experienced. It leaves a mark.
Yeah. I just think it was absolutely fantastic the way that it depicted all of that. The movie doesn't treat you like a dummy. The movie actually doesn't, and I might be wrong because we only saw it once, obviously, but the movie doesn't actually explicitly say the rules. Like, the movie doesn't mention that you need to have trauma, that it feeds on your trauma. I don't think it said that. maybe Morris said it. I don't remember. I also don't think they ever mentioned the 7 days in this one. It opens with 6 days later, but I don't think Morris says that like you die on the 7th day and you're on day 3. So like, you know, you do need pieces of the first one to fully understand this. I love when he went through the line of people and he included Rose from the first. I just like that, the cop, and I just like that we're like on this like journey of the monster. It also, I don't know, there's a lot of things about Sky Riley's journey and story that it doesn't like explicitly state. And it shows you, it doesn't tell you. Like this, oh my god, her screams in the car, and then
yes.
And all the things that just remind her of that. The fact that she keeps her hair short because she doesn't want that long hair dangling anymore. Like all these little things about it. Also, I think the smartest thing about this movie is the songs that were written for this movie are not only incredible bops, but they feel like songs written by someone with trauma or a recovering addict that a pop star would put out there. And I absolutely think that they work so well, not only within the context of the movie, but just like listening like casually. Like New Brain and Blood on White Satin are the two like big numbers from this. And I just think that goes a long way. I just really dug this. I think, and I also think that using Sky Riley as a pop star in this is saying also different things about what it's like to be famous.
Yes.
Because here she is, where people are always watching her and always smiling. You have that very over the top like incel guy who, like the stalker character, you know, like with like his skin and all of this and his hair and stuff like that. You have that type of a character who's gawking at her, and like you still have these gawkers, but you have, so like it's a really interesting like meta symbolism, or maybe it is symbolism of like how social media and all of that like is also a way of like smiling at someone and like putting your trauma on display, or what is it like to try and put a mask over that trauma. I thought that this was a really good depiction of that outside of like just the smile in general.
Especially because in that speech she does mention when she has to go off kilter because the teleprompter like in her brain.
Oh my god.
Like, yeah, I got all this fame and or this success, like I didn't, and for what? Like I didn't want it. Yeah, it was crazy.
100%. I just think this movie is so well done, and to answer your question, the Voss water thing didn't bother me. The fact that like anything can be fake, so there are no rules, that doesn't bother me. For whatever reason, even though we're rules people here, I still feel like this movie plays by the rules. It's just hard for us to grasp a little bit because anything could have not been real. But at the end of the day, she definitely went home after that rehearsal. And then all the dancers were like attacking her or whatnot. She knocks herself out. And then the next real thing is the is her on stage and coming up on the stage.
Yeah.
That's
so everything at that Pizza Hut with Morris is not real. Everything, all of it. So she does like the hospital is not real. Everything is not real. And somehow
nothing is real.
Nothing is real. But something I also want to mention about this, in general, is that there's a shot at the end of this movie. This movie is very claustrophobic. Like 99% of the time, it's a close up on Sky's face or someone's face, or it's a very small like frame around whatever, the 2-shot or whatever. It just feels claustrophobic, except for those shots of like the camera turning around and like those establishing shots that just are weird. But there's a moment in that final scene in the arena where all of a sudden it cuts to a large shot of the crowd and her on stage, and I felt like a breath of relief because we were seeing that camera angle from a almost like someone in the nosebleeds or in the rafters. That made me, that was a visual indication that this is now real. We are no longer seeing this from Sky's perspective. We are seeing this from the audience's perspective. And that's when it like allowed you to breathe. And I just thought that cinematography, those camera choices were just absolutely stellar and really were visually telling a story as well. And I just thought that was really, really, really great. I really dug this movie quite a bit. I guess my question is for you all, how does this work where if everybody now sees it, does it latch on to everyone? Are we supposed to say that everybody has trauma so it can feed on all of them? Does it not latch on to all of them? Is the third movie about like a mass outbreak of smiling, like, and we go like totally wild? Or is it still, or now do we make 10 more movies just following those 10 different people from that audience? Do we follow the mom next time? Do we follow, the assistant brother? Because he's credited as in the credits, the character's name is Miles Gutierrez. Excuse me. No, that's his last. Never mind. I'm lying. His real name, his real last name is Riley. Never mind.
Yeah.
That's why I
don't
got
think
confused.
it's his brother.
No. Anyway, or do we follow the exec? The music executive. Anyway, those are all things. I just thought this was great. It was so scary. These movies really fucked me up. I thought this movie, I can't stop thinking about this movie and Naomi Scott's performance and I just can't stop thinking. I think it's so clean. It's a clean movie too. Like, I think it's great.
No, I agree. And I'm excited to see what they choose, where they choose to go from here, and how they'll follow the rules or make new rules that fit in with what has been happening with where the entity goes and how many people can it infect at one time, or it's like, who has the most trauma? Let me go to that person. Let me scan the room.
I like the idea of a mass outbreak because the only time that two people who have experienced it have both like been together was in the prison scene in the first movie. And because it's never really simultaneous because somebody has to pass it on to somebody else, and so like it really only exists in one person. So yeah, what does it look like if multiple people are all like collectively in a shared space and don't know what each of their realities are? Like that might be interesting, but I guess is a movie compelling if like there's multiple people to follow in that way?
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good
The
question.
stories I feel like have been so compelling because we're getting really good like characters, but if we're like and like really focusing on them and their problems, but if we're kind of opening that up, is there the possibility of like being spread too thin? I don't know, but I'm definitely curious about what they want to do next. Keep going. Give me more.
Give me more.
Smiley again.
Yes.
More. Yeah, I think that these are some of the best original horror movies in a while, and we are literally one Smile movie away from like an exceptional horror trilogy. I just feel like we haven't gotten a really good horror trilogy where it's not like, well, 2 is fine, 3 is great. Like all 3 of these are like truly, and I have not seen all 3 Terrifiers, but I know that kind of slasher is not like totally up my alley, and I'll watch them eventually. But like I just imagine this one like surpassing all expectations if the third one is great. And this one,
okay, because we don't have to like all the things, right? Like
no.
I know people. I feel like I've seen a lot of people who like don't like the Smile movies, and like that's totally fine.
Yeah.
Or like vice versa. I have a weird theory that I feel like people who really like Terrifier, that trilogy or chain, don't like the Smile movies, just from what I've been seeing on TikTok. I don't know. I haven't, done any proper experiments, but I'm just seeing the vibes. But it is interesting that like, yeah, this really resonates with me for whatever reason. But I haven't watched the Terrifier movies, and I don't know if I'll feel similarly or different, but it's just really hitting and disturbing.
I mean, and kind of like opposite ends of the spectrum too of subgenre horror, like Terrifier with Smile and just what it deals with,
Mhm.
what the gore is, what it represents. So it would make sense if one doesn't like the other, So I get that. Fantastic. Well, shall we move on to brains?
Brains.
Tasty.
Tasty. Let's
Mhm.
get into it. So we've been talking about
Get into it.
Voss. Get into it. Yeah, that's what Doja Cat said. But Voss. So
Go.
in the movie, Sky's therapist suggests drinking water when she has the urge to use, or whatever the case may be, in order to acknowledge what she can control. And Jamie, I just want to ask, is that a thing? Are there other ways that you can physically do something to kind of help center your need for control? Talk to me about it, please.
I mean, so I want to clarify that like my specialty is like not in substance use.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't have like a ton of insight around that. Um I thought it was interesting. What I find interesting is like a point of reflection. And so like the way I see it is more of like pausing and slowing down in that moment to kind of acknowledge that and reflect. And the water is really just like an action that she's taking where she kind of can't do anything else in that moment. And so she's just like stopping, and that's like a checkpoint, if you will, for her to like, reflect on the control in that situation.
Yeah.
So beyond that, I have no idea, but I
Yeah.
like the idea of like, what's an intentional moment that we can take and like pause and slow down. There's all kinds of strategies around like slowing down our anxious thinking or like being really mindful and present. This feels like a similar tool for her in her recovery. So I mean, she's certainly well hydrated.
If anything.
And huge props. Those one shots of her chugging that entire Voss bottle,
Yeah.
very impressive.
Yeah, I want to know, can Naomi Scott, as an avid listener of Talking Horror, did you have to practice your chugging techniques?
Yeah.
Or are you just naturally really good at chugging it, like uncut that whole water bottle?
Right.
Very
that
impressive.
was insane. I would have choked immediately. Fantastic. But I do love that answer of just finding a moment to stop and breathe and pause in whatever capacity that is. Great. My next question is, so yes, the movie is about facing your traumas or what happens when you don't face your traumas. But, we mentioned, and Brian mentioned this too, it's that Sky was kind of on the right path of doing the right thing. She was going to therapy, we don't know if she went to rehab, but I don't think they explicitly mention it, but like we assume like she has kind of conquered her substance abuse. So my question is to you, but she still got smiled. So my question to you is, what advice would you give someone who is taking the proper healthy steps to combat their trauma, but they still feel like they aren't making any progress?
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a great question. Great question.
Great question.
For two reasons. The first one is like, how do you define progress? Like what I think if there's a client who's like looking for something, like asking them to like tell you what that something is, because is it a realistic goal or outcome that they're looking for? If someone's like, I never want to like, like experience trauma ever again, or like have the impact of trauma bother me ever again, or like if somebody's used substances and they're like, I never want to, be bothered by this again, or like have urges ever again. Like some of those things are not necessarily totally doable, but I think reframing of like, I want to better manage my symptoms related to my trauma, like great, now we're talking. So I think that's one piece. Another piece is that progress is not linear.
Yes.
Say it louder for the people in the back. Progress is not linear. So even if you're like, quote, doing all of the right things and like, things are, maybe your symptoms are not as intense as they used to be, or not as frequent as they used to be, there could still be like stressors that stir all of that stuff back up. I imagine for somebody who is in the limelight, who went through a major trauma, who is battling substance use, then going back on tour, like that's going to stir up a whole bunch of shit. That's an
Absolutely.
incredibly stressful experience. I've never even experienced it. And I know that it's incredibly stressful because I have stage fright. So I can
Oh.
imagine that like all of that is going to bring up, you know, all of these uncomfortable feelings for her. Even if she wasn't also being smiled, it's still like, this pressure that she's under. And it's certainly not. And then like the physical pain that she's reminded of with the accident and all of that stuff. Also the hair pulling. That's in the DSM. It's called trichotillomania,
Oh
which
wow.
it's a mouthful, but it's pulling, it's that urge to pull out your hair. There's like other similar-ish like things that kind of fall, I would say, under this a similar bucket. So like hair pulling is one thing. It's not just out of your head as well. It could also be eyebrows, eyelashes, beard hair. So it could be anywhere. There's also like skin picking is another one. So it's like anxiety adjacent things. Which again is understandable because she's under a lot of stress. But I think in terms of progress and not making any, I imagine that like normalizing that other life stressors can make it feel like things are getting worse. But again, it's not always going to look like this upward slope. It's going to kind of be all over the place. So I think normalizing that and like trying to practice other coping strategies, lean on your support system, um, not like push yourself too hard too quickly, which I think she also is doing. Like she's really pushing her body to the brink, which is what leads her to like reaching out to that her dealer and like trying to get what she's trying to get
Vicodin?
like painkiller,
Vicodin,
to deal with like the back pain. But like I'm assuming that the back pain that she was dealing with is connected to like pushing her body too hard. So all of that I feel like is connected. Um but yeah, progress isn't linear. And like what are you hoping for out of recovery or progress?
Because the trauma will be there. You can't, completely get rid of it. So like you said, like management, that's like the word. What can we do to manage? Love that. Last question is, so Sky doesn't really have a lot of support from her mother or the people around her because they're trying to get that tour together. So my question to you is, if you can't find support in family or friends, where would you suggest finding support during recovery, when you're just trying to deal with your trauma, any of those?
Yeah. I mean, hopefully she continues with therapy. But also like there aren't just one-on-one spaces. Especially like for substance use, there's AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, there's NA, Narcotics Anonymous. Like there are group spaces where other people who've experienced like similar things can come together and like join in and lean on each other when they're struggling. And so like I think that's a particularly unique but like really helpful group experience that can provide a lot of support outside of like and it's also nice because they're not like immediate friends or family. So like it's other people who maybe have less skin in the game but like are also similarly dedicated to recovery. So like providing feedback and connection in that way I think can be incredibly helpful. Even like leaning on faith or other like group activities, and really like anywhere that you can find a connection is really valuable. It really doesn't matter where it's coming from. But yeah, not being alone.
Yeah, that's great. Well, that's all I have for brains. Thank you, Jamie. Great answers as always. Should we?
Great answers. Great answers.
Great answers. Very helpful, truly. So let's rotten to Martin this.
Rotten to molten.
Rotten to Martin.
It's the Rotten Tomatoes game.
I mean, what do you think this has on Rotten Tomatoes? Jamie, why don't you go first for this one?
I'm gonna guess. All right, I'm gonna go bold. I'm gonna guess an 84.
Okay. Nikisha?
I want it to be good. I'm gonna 92. Just throwing it out there.
All right. This has an 86% on Rotten Tomatoes
Great.
and an 82% for the audience score.
Good job, audience.
So the critics' consensus is blessed with a nerve-jangling star turn by Naomi Scott. Writer-director Parker Finn broadens Smiles' conceit into pop stardom nightmare that'll leave a rictus grin on horror fans' faces. The audience says, taking the initial premise to horrifying new levels of Twisted, Smile 2 installs Naomi Smile 2 installs Naomi Scott as a scream queen and cements a beaming franchise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed.
It was great. And if you were curious, so this has an 86 and an 82. Smile had an 80 and a 77.
Okay.
Still pretty close.
Oh yeah, totally. All right. Next up, what do you think this has on Letterboxd? As a reminder, Letterboxd is 0 to 5 with decimal points. Nikisha, you start this one off.
3.9.
Jamie?
3.3. I feel like Letterboxd users are a bit more harsh.
You're right. It's a 3.4.
Okay.
And the top 3 reviews are at number 3. This happens when you don't thank Beyonce.
Oh.
Oh,
Wow.
that's really funny.
That is really funny and so in like the zeitgeist. Like, wow. That's excellent.
Next up, Naomi Scott is so good in this, but the most impressive part was how she was continuously just downing entire bottles of Voss water like a fucking champ.
Yeah.
Yep. Chugging it.
She is hydrated.
Very.
And then number 1 is Lady Raven and Sky Riley Cunty World Tour. When?
Huh. I mean, cross out Lady Raven, but I will see.
Lady Raven is a fucking fraud compared to Sky Riley and Celeste from Vox Lux.
Oh my god.
And we will die on that hill.
Yes.
Lady Raven is a nothing. Lady
No.
Raven is...
I did like her songs. I thought her songs were pretty good.
I could not sing
I don't
one
remember
back
them,
to you.
but-
Exactly.
I do have New Brain stuck in my head.
Yes.
There you go.
I want a new brain. I haven't even listened to it since we saw the movie.
Yeah.
How is
That's-
this happening? Oh my god, did I get smiled?
Yeah.
Is that how it
No,
happened?
Jamie, Brian's gonna be the one that turns over the bed and it's like,
God,
you
please
just smiled.
don't.
I will. That I
Don't
won't
smile
do.
at me.
Um,
Ugh. God. No, because I would murder him.
I'm sure.
oh, here's another really good review. Sky Riley did all of this while prepping for a tour. What's your excuse?
She had the same 24 hours as you.
Yeah.
Oh man. Ew, I hate
anyway.
when people say that because it
I
just makes me
know.
feel like
I
a
know.
piece of shit.
Exactly.
Leave me
like-
alone.
I know.
Scram. I'm trying my best.
Scram! Get out of here. She won't talk to you.
How have we not said that on here? Oh my god, I say it
Scram.
at least once a day. I am
so
so,
glad you said that.
chronically online. I have a problem. But scram! Leave her
I think that's my
alone.
favorite meme.
He doesn't want to talk
Yes.
to you. Oh shit.
Oh, it's
She's
so
a
good.
cameo. Should we get a cameo? Should we get a talking horror cameo?
Please.
Oh my
Oh
gosh.
my god. Absolutely. Yes.
We
Just for
should
that,
get
I
them
love
to
it.
say like, "Scram, you're a bad therapist."
Just for the sound. Oh my gosh.
Just
Brian,
for the bit.
that has to happen.
Yeah.
Um,
And then anytime
um,
there's a bad therapist, we have them say.
yeah.
Right. You just put the
Do
sound
you
over
Scram.
it.
consent to being a segment in
Yeah.
our podcast?
Scram, you're a bad therapist.
We don't
Or
want to talk to you.
Scram, you're a bad therapist or medical professional.
Ugh.
Cool.
So good.
All right, let's do the 4 S's.
Yes.
Yes, sis.
Skull, scare, shakes, and suggestions. The Talking Horrors 4 S's.
Right, the 4 S's are skulls, scare, shakes, and suggestions, where we rank these different categories. Skulls is how well this handles mental health and human behavior. Scares is how scary was it, and shakes is this a one and done? Are you still thinking about it? And then we'll get into suggestions. But Jamie, let's start with you.
Uh-oh.
For skulls, I gave this a 7. Because I like it. I like how I mean, I also, this is a movie that is presenting like a lot of self-harm. So like we talked about the kills in the beginning but didn't necessarily flag it for self-harm. But it also I feel like is in this weird category because there's this like underlying demon that's causing it to happen, that it does feel
Right.
like more, to me it feels like they're being murdered or attacked in some way.
Yeah, even though the
because, like,
visuals indicate self-harm.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that aside, I do feel like this movie has a lot of thoughts about trauma, and kind of handles them a little bit more realistically, in that like it is not something that is easily remedied or resolved, and like it presents this more like hopeless ending, which I don't think that that's the case all of the time, but I think there's elements of it that feel really grounded, so it gets 7 for me. For scares, I'm changing my score. I'm changing it to an 8 because I just don't like any of them.
Yeah.
They're all scary. I'm scared.
Yep.
Am I a baby? I don't know, maybe, but like weird. I fucking hate mouth things, and like this movie has mouth things. I'm sorry, it's gonna get a really high score from me because I don't like mouth.
No arguments
For
here.
shakes, I'm giving this I'm giving it a 6. I don't know, maybe I'm thinking a 7 because I haven't stopped thinking about it.
Yeah.
I haven't stopped thinking about it. I don't like it. I even rewatched or tried to rewatch the OG Smile once before, and I couldn't even watch the ending because I hate the monster. So I don't need to see it again because it's just like burned into my retinas forever. It firmly has planted a seed in Scaryville in my brain.
Absolutely.
Population Smile.
Population Smile.
All right, Nikisha.
Similar. 7 for skulls, 8 for scares, and a 9 for shakes. Because, like I first stated, this is my top movie in 2024 thus far in this October.
That's crazy.
month,
That's
so,
great.
Yeah.
Skulls for me is an 8. I don't think you get better than some of the skulls in this one and the first one and whatnot. Scares, this is a 9. The only thing I would put above this is like Possessor or something like that like makes my skin crawl. But like I just don't, you just don't get scarier than this for me. Like this got me. And then Shakes, I'm giving it an 8.5.
Nice.
Like I can't stop thinking, whether it's the soundtrack or I can't stop thinking about this movie. Like it's also so visually stunning, and it's a crisp movie as well. And I think about that too. It has a very distinct style to it, and I appreciate that. But we have some suggestions. I'll go first. I am going to suggest the not great film Truth or Dare.
Screaming.
It has very similar vibes to this one, especially certain parts in the second half. So I'm
Okay.
gonna go with Truth or Dare.
I always get that confused with Would You Rather, but I have only watched Would You Rather, not Truth or Dare. But yeah. I went with sequels that are equal to or better than the first.
Oh, great one.
So Saw 2, I think I personally enjoy Saw 2 more than the first one. And y'all gonna laugh at me, but Evil Dead 3 Army of Darkness was the one that got me into the chain. Like, that's the one that was like, now I'm in it. This is what I want to see.
I'm not
So
even
I
gonna
will take that
complain
one.
because I just want you to be in it, to be totally honest.
Great.
Fantastic. But that's it, Jamie.
I think I said this for the first Smile, but it really does give like It Follows vibes.
Yes.
Just like something looming that's coming for you. So I don't care if I say it again. I do what I want.
Cool.
Wait, what was the other one with spoiler? God. At the end, spoiler, because the only thing I can remember is at the end she gets like sucked into hell. Drag Me to Hell.
Drag Me to Hell.
Duh.
No, the film was called Sucked into Hell.
Sucked into Hell.
Suck Me to Hell.
I'll throw that in the suggestion thing too.
Sure.
Drag Me to Hell, because it's kind of like the thing, the entity following you, and you can't.
Yeah.
And you thought you did, and you did.
Well, I do when a How Do I Get Rid of This Curse movie is really good. Like, I really dig a How Do I Get Rid of This Curse movie, and a lot of the, I mean, we all named It Follows, Drag Me to Hell, Truth or Dare, like all of those are How Do I Get Rid of This Curse movie.
Yeah.
Cool.
Love it. Well, that wraps up our episode of Smile 2. You just got smiled. You can follow us on all social medias. I don't know.
By listening to our episode, you just got smiled.
And you want a free case of Voss water.
Now that's what I want. Lifetime supply. Thank you very much. But you can follow us on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok at Talk Horror Pod. And producer Brian, where can they listen to us?
You can listen to us wherever you get podcasts, so things like YouTube. Hi, YouTube! You can also find us wherever you get your podcasts in your ears, your earballs, like Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Rate and review us there. 5 stars, please.
And oh my god, freaking Nikisha, I can't even look at you. I can't emphasize enough. I really I hate it. I hate it. All right. If you're going to do it when we end, I'm just going to close my eyes because I can't.
I won't do it anymore. I'll do it anymore.
You can do it. I'm just not going to look. I'm just going to do a smile.
Okay, well, we'll end the podcast with Brian and I doing the smile with Jamie's eyes covered. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Also, all hail our horror king, Kyle Gallner, another one in the can.
Oh, yeah. Definitely shout out to Kyle Gallner.
Yeah. Okay, Jamie, we're done.
Safe.
Okay, we're done. Bye.
Bye.
Don't
Bye.
get smiled.